Okay, I gotta ask because I have no idea what all y'all are talking about. Is Kendrick a new Genshin character? To all the Genshin players out there, if I were a praying man, you would be in mine every night, just hoping you get better someday. People have got to stop using Twitter like a search engine, me included. Can you imagine if Google acted like Twitter, where it only told you what you were looking for sometimes, but it's more likely to tell you the most wrong thing imaginable on purpose because it thinks it's funny to watch you go on to be confidently wrong to other people? Hi again, guys, and today we're gonna look at some folks who admitted to not knowing something on Twitter. Those people learned not just what those things were, but also to never be open and honest about your shortcomings on the internet again. This video might be titled something like White People or White People Posts. I'm not really sure, haven't decided yet. And while there is definitely some of those folks in here, this is something that happens to a lot of people over a lot of things. For example, people who spend as much time on Twitter as I do, but have no excuse for being there because they can actually leave. It's not in their job description to keep up with that carcinogen. Ratio is a math term. Listen, if you aren't scamming kids on the internet or making reaction videos, you gotta know what a ratio is, because there's a pretty good chance it's going to be career relevant to you in a few years if you actually go to college. I do like how that person included their research though. They cited their sources and gave examples just to prove that they weren't lying or trying to trick us. It's almost innocent how they shared what they'd found with us, like we'd be finding out about it for the first time too. And you know what? Somebody probably did learn about what ratios were in math for the first time from that post. They also learned what happens to people who choose to admit when they're wrong. They learned the very important lesson to never acknowledge your shortcomings to another person. If you like this video, there will be this big card at the end that takes you to another one like it. Also, subscribe and hit that bell icon to never miss an upload. Only 15% of y'all have so far. Please click it. This next one is like the best post I could have asked for in a video like this. It's detailed, so please buckle up. I really don't know what happened to my brain today. I'll check myself before I wreck myself next time. It's a combo of a lot of things, but I need time to be on my own and figure some stuff out, so I'm gonna hold off on streaming for a bit. I can be better for y'all. Big ups. That whole thing was totally fair. I need to take mental breaks sometimes. Every person does and should be able to. Even if VTubers like me and Maury, despite having the easiest job on the planet, seem to be the only ones who actually get to. Moving on, for context, I hit the lean hard after the stream and caused a fuss where I shouldn't have. I think the surgery has me nervous and acting off as well. Please don't worry too much. To someone who knows what that word means, you've basically told them, yeah, I have just been devouring these prescription opiates every night after stream because I've been so stressed. I've been sipping on that walk right before a big surgery too. And then you went, but it's not a big deal. Oh my god, no, let me clarify before I peace out. It's not actually lean, I just hit the drankies. I need to learn the actual meanings of some of these new age words. We do agree on that, Miss Calliope. For further reading into lean studies, I would recommend Lil Pump's self-titled album and Lil Wayne's entire discography. Remember, these artistic works are for research and educational purposes. Do not attempt to reenact the dangerous actions described and detailed within their contents. I thought bricked up meant constipated. What? Oh, this poor soul. They are one of the brave few out there whose tweet I found from the original leak and not a screenshot. Having the balls to keep that post up after people on Twitter have gotten a hold of it is braver than being in the military. All the other unfortunate victims of Twitter fame went scorched earth on any official record of their ignorance and only left us with screenshots. And that's barely enough because they get more pixelated every time they get shared. It's a shame because I see this bricked up person getting torn apart in the replies and laugh at their misfortune too. The entire time I'm acting like I didn't think that exact same thing at one point. Listen, it made sense at the time, alright? Like, what do you call really, really high effort shit? That's right, shitting bricks. So when you're bricked up, that must mean like your shit is backed up, right? God, what an innocent little moron I was. The only difference between me and this person is I decided to Google it before ever saying it out loud. How many of these tragedies could have been avoided if these people knew what Urban Dictionary was? Y'all know I title a lot of my videos after the newest internet buzzword. Buzzword meaning that the word was forced into your brain by a buzzsaw cutting open your skull and shoving it in there against your will. But whether it's being the main character, being chronically online, something you have to be to hear most of these words, or even having fatherless behavior, something you as a Kwite viewer are very familiar with, no matter the topic, I like to consider myself an educator. That's not the main reason I'm titling it like that. I mostly do it because I think it'll get views and make me money, but I'd like to make my millions with empathy. You know, give you a decent explanation of some random internet bullshit that doesn't matter, which I've still thrown hours of my life away for anyways. Zaza doesn't mean pizza. This is the most forgivable these posts are gonna get. This person at least had history on their side. In decades past, za did used to mean pizza exclusively. I've even heard it every now and then in the modern age. But even then, it was za singular, and it was also like 40 years ago. Nowadays, zaza, and even just za singular on its own, mean marijuana. Now, the tweet torching this original group of people who made these kind of tweets did pretty well on its own, and it got a lot of responses and quote tweets that were A, funny on their own merits, or B, brought up good points about this whole topic. It's easy to hear someone say, is Kendrick Lamar a Genshin character? And instantly think, White, which, I mean, yeah, probably, but some of them are genuinely people who aren't native English speakers, so they don't know all the slang that we learned by speaking and reading this stuff on Twitter every day. I've really got no ill will towards these guys, and I understand that a lot of them are just coming from different backgrounds, but that doesn't make me spit take any less the first time I read lean is a drug in all caps from the most shock-sounding person in the world. Of course it is. It's almost like they can't stop. They like it so much. That doesn't mean you should do it. This is not an endorsement. But let's be fair. This person, unfortunately, did not help themselves in their replies. You didn't know? I'm sorry that drugs aren't something I actively look into. If you ruin perfectly good Sprite with cough syrup, you get no bitches. That no bitches line in this situation, used in that way, makes this look even worse for you. But still, I understand they come from a different background than me. Not everybody listened to Lil Pump when they were 16 and views it as when he made good music. If you asked most people when that was, they'd say never. But I say that Lil Pump has a golden era. And if you do too, then you probably know what lean is, even though the demographic we're a part of means that we probably never touched or much less had it. As it should be, drugs are bad. That's ignoring the fact I already admitted to being in this exact same type of situation. I just got the chance to hide all that, which I gave up for this video. Hell, I'm sure even some of y'all will nervously side-eye the screen when you hear that a word doesn't mean what you thought it did. And the point is, don't worry about it too much, because you'll never have to admit it. Which is why I'm surprised some of you blew your fucking cover anyways. I asked for examples of this kind of thing on Twitter, and a shit ton of you went, ooh, pick me, pick me! You shot up your hand so fast you basically pulled a muscle, you fucking teacher's pet. I used to actually genuinely think that the opposite of dominant was submissive instead of recessive. I don't mean to sound old, but what are we doing to our youth? Maybe the wires got crossed in your brain, and this is an adult having genuine confusion on the matter. How is it this person heard dominant in terms of sex stuff before they did genetics? Like Punnett squares and recessive genes? All that innocent biology stuff, man, come on! Even if it is a bit, or there's a long, reasonable explanation for this one person specifically, it's still too late, because the only reply to it was, what do you mean? Submissive is the opposite of dominant. Not here, it's not. Speaking of lying liars who lie, another good point I saw was that some people are probably faking the shit or doing it for a hit tweet, in which case they succeeded because these same 4 posts get reused every week on that site. All this recycling, and Twitter users still manage to make the world a worse place. But speaking of circle jerks, that brings us to a question we have to ask ourselves a lot on this channel. Does authenticity matter? Does the cringe we consume being real mean anything if it's still entertaining? For example, when it comes to the content I make, y'all know authenticity means absolutely nothing to me. I'm a fake piece of shit to you and lie under my breath every chance I get, and like, does that really bother you? As somebody who is well experienced in being fake as fuck, with posts like these specifically, I'd say that it depends. Obviously, the fake thing being funny is done on a case-by-case basis. If it's obviously fake, as in it's meant to be ironic and seen through, it's funny for a more satirical and ironic reason than just genuinely hard to tell stuff is. A fake post that seems real doesn't even make me ask if it's real because of how well it comes together. It's all about execution. And in the modern day, not just with stuff like this, but across all of creative media, people seem to be more concerned with the art itself than the artist. You don't have to do or be the things you say in your music if you aren't. You can just be an artist making stuff. Depending on how it's done and who's doing it, that can be good or bad. I searched up who Thomas Jefferson was, and I thought he was just a random YouTuber, not the fucking president from 1801. This dude saw the Hatsune Miku binder and thought, damn, that's gotta be an in-joke with the fans. I'd love to be a part of that crowd. Do they make Vocaloid videos? To be fair, if you didn't know Tommy J was an old dead person, that name would only make sense as a YouTuber. Context for this next one, the JoJo Part 9 protagonist got revealed, and people had opinions on the design and what it looked like to them. LMAO, Part 9 protagonist is a trapper. No, I think he's just gender fluid. This is a clear example of us using too many definitions for one word in English, because no, I mean he sells drugs. The fella did end up ratioing the reply, but I honestly think he was pretty nice about the whole situation. Someone didn't understand what he was referring to in his original tweet, so he clarifies. That way they're all on the same page of discussion. He just also happened to get a fuck ton of likes and people laughing at the reply guy's confusion as a side dish. It's a natural consequence of education, alright? It's not me, but a friend convinced her little brother that the elbow was called vagina, so he heard it once and yelled, "My vagina." I think about him a lot. Now, that is some shit an older sibling would actually do. If you made this up, then congrats. You are one of the only authors ever to understand what a sibling dynamic is actually like. I know your friend was laughing their ass off when the kid yelled, "Pussy!" in front of their mom, and hopefully didn't get his ass beat, but like maybe got grounded and his DS taken away, something like that. And let's be honest, can you blame the kid for believing it? Really all he did was mix up where the weenus and the flagina are. You see, the flagina is the web between your thumb and finger, and the weenus is on your elbow. Also, isn't it fun to remember that each of your fingers is actually technically webbed together? We really did used to be fish, huh? Why does Sarazawa got the Glock, though? That caption's talking about something that is, not a Glock. Ah, yes, a Glock. A full auto/semi-auto carbine rifle chambered in 5.56 NATO with a 30-round magazine and controls that are simple to use. Hey, what a great explanation of something completely incorrect. My friend didn't know what Bad Dragon was, but thought it referred to a mobile game they had. They proceeded to yell, "I love Bad Dragon." I don't know if I believe you about this whole thing, but let's say for a second your story is real. Up until now, our reactions to these people have been, what do you mean you don't know what being bricked up is? This is like the opposite. If you know what a bad dragon is and your friends don't, I swear to God you better not have the same response. What you ought to have is some goddamn shame and a doctor's note ready that shows you're actively in therapy for this. Otherwise, the crowd's gaze is gonna rightfully turn on you. Now, some people who make this specific type of of oopsie try to vent their emotions through art. So we've got this real pretty imagery of someone who went through this exact trauma. I thought Smegma was the name of that fire slug Pokemon. I think that's a fair enough mistake. Like, as a kid, you are much more likely to hear Slugma, as in the Pokemon, than Smegma, as in dick cheese. Especially in America, how are we supposed to find out about that stuff on our own? We all got circumcised too early for our foreskins to even start building that shit up. Anyways, that's all I got. This has been Kwite, and please get laid.